Mr. Doolittle, we're waiting on your go. I don't see you.
We are streaming now.
All right. All right, we'll call to order the Cracken County Fiscal Court meeting, April 26, 5 p.m. 2021 via teleconference. And Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Jones,
Here.
Commissioner Parker,
Here.
Commissioner Bartleman,
Here.
and Judge Clymer.
Here. And Commissioner Bartleman, you offer our prayer, please.
Sure will. Father, we just thank you for the blessings of this day. We thank you for your grace and understanding and all that we do, Father. We just pray you be with us in this meeting as we conduct the business of this county. We just pray you give us the guidance and direction we need to make life better for all. Father, we just pray you be with all the county employees as they perform their duties. Give them safety and as they perform those duties, Father. Ask a special prayer for our first responders, fire department, rescue squad, sheriff deputies, and all those who work so hard to keep us safe. Father, we're just so thankful for what you do for us. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, then we stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first up is the approval of the consent agenda. Is a motion to do that?
So,
It
mate,
is, or
I'm way ahead of you, Becky.
you are, sir.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
Excuse me, sir. I'm sorry. I don't
Yes.
believe we have a second.
Second.
All right. Now any discussion? Still no discussion, I'll guess. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. All right, budget transfers.
It is ordered that the necessary cash transfers in the amount of $250,000 be made in order to pay county bills and payroll approved April 26, 2021.
Move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Accounts payable.
It is ordered to approve the voucher claims register from April 12th, 2021 to April 26, 2021 to show county bills in the amount of $288,646.37 were paid.
So, mate.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. All right, under discussion items, we have Amanda Melton, our coroner, here to give us some report on how her office is doing. Coroner Melton, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm always appreciative of this opportunity to meet with you all annually to discuss what our office has been doing. Our office is a small but vital part of the agencies who serve our community. And I think because of the sensitive and delicate work that we do, there's very little opportunity to discuss in public exactly what we do. But this is an opportunity to kind of review the year and what statutory obligations our office met. And as you can probably guess, 2020 was an extraordinary year, wrought with many complications. Our office oftentimes changed protocol, reviewed what the federal government was suggesting in talks with funeral homes and hospitals, and constantly reviewing and revising what we could do to keep ourselves safe. And most of that was due to COVID-19. I was just talking to Deputy Judge Doolittle just a little while ago about some of the complications that we encountered that probably you haven't thought about. Mostly were deaths in the home where one, if not all of the members of the home were COVID positive and had been sent home to convalesce and quarantine. And then one of them died suddenly from acute respiratory failure. So we oftentimes, just like our emergency responders, found ourselves surrounded by that thing that we were supposed to avoid. And it was full of many anxious moments, but luckily our office got through that due to very diligent protocols that I'm very proud that to have put in place. So we did see an increase in death investigations by 44. So we went up to 278 death investigations. And what I'd like to clarify about that is that that means times that we actually got in our vehicle and went to the place where the death occurred. These are not phone calls. These are not reports. These are actual physical presence at the scene where the death occurred. And the majority of those are in the home, in environments that, many times are outside, not exactly the best circumstances sometimes. So I knew it was a busy year, but when I put the numbers to it, I realized just exactly what was going on. We continue to have a stable office, stable deputies. I've been really proud of the work that they've done. They all bring something to the table that's valuable and beneficial with the skill set that's specific to this job. There is an increase, continues to be an increase in fentanyl deaths. It's something that we get memos and bulletins about often, and we try to stay educated on those topics. We've noticed recently that statewide there's been an increase in gabapentin deaths. So that's a drug that's being added into a mix of a variety of other drugs that proves deadly in many cases. So that's something that we've received additional training on. I always want to give you all an opportunity to ask questions because this is kind of the time to do that. But one thing I would like to talk about briefly with as much sensitivity as is possible, but I would like to thank the fiscal court for your support in something that I have a feeling the public knows nothing about that happened. And that is that the coroner's office was tasked with establishing a temporary morgue. And in the beginning parts of COVID, where there was so much uncertainty about what might happen, and in cities our size across the nation, they were asking us to be prepared should COVID overwhelm our systems, which would mean that morgue capacity couldn't be handled with what we already have, would also mean that funeral homes were past capacity. So very quickly, and with the assistance and support of the fiscal court, we were able to secure and modify a space which is undisclosed and will remain that way, but a space that we adapted to meet the needs of the community should a temporary morgue become necessary. I'm very proud to report that we did not need that. So really, we should thank everyone for that and their diligence. But I think it's important to say that we were prepared should that have happened. So thank you all for your assistance in that. I need to thank the local hospitals and funeral homes and emergency services as well, because we all work together on this closely, and I think pulled together as well as a community could be expected. And I'm really proud of the way we all responded. It was top notch.
All right. Thank you, Coroner. Any questions for Ms. Melton?
I've got one question. In the past, several years ago, before you were coroner, we had some discussion about the need for a morgue in the county. That occasionally there might have been some problems, shortage of space in hospitals and funeral homes. I know you just addressed it regarding the COVID. Do you ever come up with your short of space and have to find places to put deceased while they're waiting funerals? Or I think you understand my question.
I do. And thank you for asking, because that does occasionally happen. I think there is a general thought that there's a big morgue in all cities that has a capacity that totally serves the community, and that's just not the case. But we do have great cooperation with both hospitals. Additionally, there are a few funeral homes in town who have refrigeration units. They have never told me no, and they deserve a big thank you, because it's usually I'm taking a very difficult case to them and asking them, for their help and their space, and they don't charge us for that. So they're to be commended. I do think, though, that we could make a case for a small refrigeration unit to be used for the most sensitive of sensitive cases, which would be those that there's a chain of custody issue. In other words, it's a case that needs to stay 100% within the control of the coroner's office. And right now, we don't have that. And I'm not trying to imply that I don't trust any of these agencies. I do. But I think that there are times when we need to maintain 100% control of that body due to the circumstances of their death. So yes, to answer your question, I do think that we should look into a small unit, perhaps office space somewhere that we could secure. And you all know what's available in the county more than I do, but I would definitely be receptive to talking about that.
How often do you have cases that need, that ideally would have 100% custody?
Probably 10 times each year, just off the top of my head guess, but I'd say approximately 10.
And how long is that custody? Is it a overnight, a day, 2 days, weeks? I'm sure it varies, but what's the
It
average?
does vary. Typically, though, it would be within a day and a half, we would have that resolved. Because typically in a case as sensitive as what I'm talking about, the lapse in time is between when we are ready to put them somewhere safe, but they're not quite ready to go to the medical examiner's office. So it's that space in there that I'm talking about. And that would be nice to be able to secure that during that time. So a day and a half, probably on average, would be about the right time.
Okay, good. Thank you.
What temperature do they have to be at? Just like a cooler type thing, or refrigerated walk-in, or?
It wouldn't be below 32. I think it's around 44 is what I'm thinking is the suggested temperature. And they make all types of 2 and 4 person units. A lot of funeral homes have those, and they don't take up a lot of space, but they're extremely valuable. So I'd be glad to get some prices together for that if you all would be interested in looking into that, and then we could maybe talk about space where that could happen.
If we do that and you have a need to use it, do you have to have 24-hour security at the location, or as long as they're locked and the building's locked and the units are locked, does that cover it?
Right. The ones I'm familiar with, there's an actual opportunity to put a lock on it, like a padlock, for example. My thought would also be that we would put cameras in there that would be monitored, and then just locking the exterior part of the building. I think that would be sufficient.
I know we discussed that before about maybe some, I think they call them portable units that that were, didn't have to build a new building or do a lot of renovation, that could be, as you mentioned, a designated office or something like that. So,
Right. I implemented, just through necessity, I implemented a protocol where when that situation happens and we don't have 100% control, we have these special tags that would be something similar to what an electrician would use, like a lockout type tag. And we place that through the zippers of the unit and then initial that so that we would be able to determine if there had been any type of tampering. And of course, that's never happened, but it's just one more way that we can kind of secure and prove that we've had total privacy and security there. It's just not ideal, but it's the best we can do right now.
thank you.
Amanda, can you compare your 2019 activity to 2020?
I can.
And I'm not looking, I guess I'm looking for general. I just didn't.
Yes.
How much busier were you in 2020? Or not?
So the main meat of what we do would be the death investigations. And all of the other numbers are, slightly up, maybe a few slightly down, but those are the meat of it all would be the death investigations. So in 2019, we had 234 death investigations, 2020, 278. So that's up 44. So again, that's 44 more times that myself or a deputy left our home, whatever we were doing, and went to the scene of the death. So it's a pretty substantial increase. And I think we could easily, it's still being discussed, but most of that, in my opinion, is because there were a fair amount of people who were a little nervous and apprehensive about going to the hospital. So they opted to stay home with very serious symptoms. And as a result of that, died in the home. So that stands for many of those numbers. A fair portion of those were COVID-related deaths. Unexpected, though. Someone who was convalescing pretty well, but then suddenly had an acute respiratory issue, which we all know is one of the issues with COVID. So that happened a fair amount of times as well.
How is 2021 trending? Is it ahead of last year, even, or how's it look compared to last year?
Many of the nationwide experts said that there would be some consequences of COVID that we would see after months of that type of isolation and pressure. And it would be mostly mental health related and possibly with, drug issues. So we did see a surge in, unfortunately, suicides and drug overdoses at about that point in time that they said, which was 4 and 5 months after the initial hit of COVID. And we did see that locally. I do think it started to subside, and I'm glad to see that. But I talk with people across the state. Matter of fact, I just got back from the coroner's convention, and many of my peers across the state are still seeing a lot of cases of depression, suicide, and drug usage that's resulted in death. Our local mental health facilities have done a great job in, to me, offering support for the community with their telehealth and just their programs where they push out for the community awareness. They've just done a fantastic job. So it feels like to me we're really doing everything we possibly can to show concern for our community members.
I guess it's too early to compare a trend with last year and this year since we're just in April and that's a month into COVID a year ago. So I guess any number of comparisons wouldn't mean much right now, I guess.
Right. And one of the things that we talked about at Coroner Convention is that when we see these increased numbers in suicides and overdoses, that can't necessarily be directly linked to COVID. However, it's certainly, I think, worth considering in many cases, because when you think about the way it's affected people financially, just not being able to go along with their normal routine, and being in the home when you're used to being out, and so many elderly people too, I think just maybe felt like things might not get back to normal, and in some cases let their health suffer. So it's going to be hard to ever kind of pull out exactly how COVID has affected us. But I think overall, we could all agree that the trend went up during that for suicide and unintentional overdose.
All right, anything else from Ms. Melton?
Thank you, Madam Recorder.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you. You're welcome to stay on, or if you have something better to do than look at us, you can do that too.
Thank you. My mother's in town, so I better get going.
Oh, you better get going. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and then under discussion, another topic is we are going to need to hire a new position for, I guess it falls under my office. It's Steve Doolittle's and Steve Irvin's assistant down in there in the reception room between Steve Doolittle and Steve Irvin. The young lady we have is leaving to go on to something else. And so we need to run an advertisement for that position. I wanted to put it on to get some brief discussion about what we believe that position should pay, or if it should be a range. We were paying the young lady that was there $12 an hour. I personally think that's quite low for the duties and responsibilities in that position. That's where the majority of people call. They also, majority of the people present in person there, and sometimes down to my office. But I think it's necessary to look at raising that, fairly substantially from $12. I was thinking in the range 13 to 13.50 would be more appropriate. I think Mr. Doolittle did a little checking around on what the retail stores pay, and they pay an average of somewhere around 12. Is that right, Steve? Something like that.
I think it's reasonable to go at least 13, maybe even a little bit higher. I think it's important. That's one of those offices we need stability if we can get it, because they deal with the public, and by the time they learn the ropes, we don't want them to leave. So I think we need to pay as much as we can. I think at least 13 is good. I support that.
Right. Anyone else have thoughts on it?
What are they making down in the clerk's office? What do we get them raised up to? Steve, you remember?
You're muted, Steve. Well, it doesn't show you're muted, but can't hear you.
I That could be a good thing. I think he's locked up.
Oh, he is. I thought he just had his fingers stuck in his ear.
Either that or his fingers stuck in his ear.
Commissioner Balderman, this is Pam. While we're waiting for Steve to get unfrozen, the change for the clerk's office, there are new hires down there, will start at 13.
I think that's fair.
I think, yeah, I'd hate to see it do any more than what they're hiring in down there at, so. For now, anyway.
Think they'll do it, Judge? 13, will that help?
Well, certainly it'll help to go from 12 to 13. I don't know what an appropriate analysis is. I just, of course, the clerks deal directly with a lot of people, and they have to, they represent the county. The person who's directly answering the phone and greeting the people and doing the direct business for Mr. Doolittle, Mr. Irvin, works under my assistant Vicky, and it's a very a lot of responsibilities. Need somebody, and of course we set up that phone line where you go through the numbers. I guess a few people get that right. Seems like I don't know, a whole lot don't. Constantly hearing Vicky, and I'm sure in Steve's office, some reason, I guess people maybe just dial 0 and they don't need to be bothered with trying to find the right office. We'll answer the phone and direct them to that. So,
how about if we started at 13 and had kind of a probationary period, went up over maybe a 6-month or 1-year period?
that sounds fine to me.
I think that's the way they do it in the clerk. I think that's the way the clerk's office is now. They start at 13 and within 6 months or something, they get a bump of close to a quarter.
13, and then in 6 months, 1350. That 6 months is shown to be adequate. How's that? We want to make a motion to that effect or different numbers?
Do you make a motion, Bill?
I'll make that motion, 13 with a 6-month probationary period, then up to 1350.
I'll second it.
All right.
Is that's still in line with the clerk's office does, don't they? Don't they give a bump after 6 months? Do you know, Pam?
Yes, they get a bump after 6 months, but I think it's a quarter, not 50 cents.
Ooh,
And then do they get another bump after 12 months?
Yeah, 12 months, they get another quarter.
Can I amend my motion to be in line with what the clerk's office does? I'll amend, or do you think I ought to go to?
I think you leave it as is. I think a lot of it may depend on when Mr. Doolittle hires the level of what that person can do. I mean, he knows what he wants. So.
Okay. I'm good with that.
The motion is
You bet.
$13, and then 6 months later, after a probation period, 50 cents addition. Is that right?
Sir,
Is the motion to amend withdrawn?
I didn't make it.
I'm sorry.
I didn't make that motion. I just asked if I should, and it didn't seem
Oh,
like I
okay.
should.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, that carries. Let's see. Today, we're having a couple of things today to come up. Under discussion, we need to address from a meeting today. We're trying to get something done on the 911 deciding where we're going to be. We're going to join hands with the city on that joint effort and how we're going to fund that, what's going to be the funding requirement, what level of money is going to be needed, that sort of thing. And so a few weeks ago, we asked someone to check with a consulting firm that did a report in, I think it was 2017, to tell us what we need as far as antennas, hardware, software, that sort of thing. Now, here we are 5 years later, and there never has been any action taken on that. We believed it appropriate to get that refreshed, see what the technology is currently. Has it changed substantially? I think we're a little reluctant to rely on 5-year-old numbers and research. And so that's the reasonable part of it. The cost for the consultant to do that is $52,500. That'd be split evenly as the proposal between the city and the county for $26,250 each. And then from that, we would decide, we've got to get off the hump and just make a decision on this 911 and get something going on that. But so the
Sir, I have an order prepared by Mr. Doolittle, if you would like me to read that, and then y'all discuss.
okay. All right, I didn't see that.
It is ordered that the city of Paducah be paid by the treasurer $26,250, same being the county's 50% share of the cost for updating the study for E911 and radio communication study. This expenditure will cause federal engineering to update and revise the study initiated in 2016.
Judge, was that a flat fee or was it a up to fee?
I think it's flat fee.
Okay.
And that includes not just a report, but they'll come, I would guess, would have likely a joint meeting with the city. And we can pelt them with questions and explore and massage and see what we can come up with to how we're going to use that updated report. So is there a motion to do that?
So made.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. All right.
Judge, what's the timeline on that, did they say?
Was it
12 weeks.
Yeah,
How long?
12 weeks, no
was that,
more than
Steve?
12 weeks, they thought. Perhaps sooner. All right, and then I also wanted to address the sports or athletic complex at the Bluegrass Downs property. We're having an issue with that I wanted, since we only get together as a group and we can only speak about these things as a group every 2 weeks at our meeting, I didn't want to let it wait. I won't get too lengthy with it, but I will say that when I was elected, and I think you gentlemen were on board as well, that my number 2 priority was to get our children off of a landfill and into a nice, really nice soccer field, soccer complex. My number 1 had to do with law enforcement needs. And so when the Bluegrass Downs went unused and we saw they were going to sell, we were able to acquire that property by donation. And I think we were all excited about the idea of converting that property to a sports complex. Looking at, and then soccer was my main concern because the numbers are so much higher in kids and usage and revenue so much more for soccer, we've learned. But then we came to find that we could also, with the city's Stuart Nelson Park, use that park as well. And so we developed a plan to put soccer on Stuart Nelson, baseball, softball, Bluegrass Downs. And I believed, and I think most of us believed that we were going to do that in conjunction with the city. 50-50 partners on the build out, on the design, on the operations into the generations to follow. This be an outstanding complex. It's the virtual videos on our website. A lot of people have seen that. If they don't, I encourage them to take a look. The issue that has arisen is that the city has many other priorities that are pulling from their ability to put sufficient money to be 50-50 partners. The numbers vary according to which city commission member speak with, the mayor, city commission members, but no one yet has been on board with being 50-50 partners with us at the level that we hope to build this out. The whatever you want to call it, the extreme, the gold-plated, the platinum, the ultimate sports complex in the $40 million range, maybe a little more. I had thought, frankly, I thought that since the prior city commission had bonded for $20 million to build a pool, they called it a wellness center, that perhaps logic would dictate that when that collapsed with the new administration at the city, they would see the wisdom in putting that money, $20 million, into a 50-50 partnership with us to build out a sports complex that I don't think anybody can argue would not be 10 times the benefit to our community, if not 20 or more, with the numbers, with the revenue, the travel ball tourism that would be brought in, filling our hotels, our restaurants, our shops, our filling stations. However, that's not the case. And so, there's all kinds of different analyses to be made on it. I guess one of the other major points, and when I've talked with some of the city folks, my argument is that, not only did that money, was that money appropriated for a pool that was then the idea abandoned, but we are, the county is providing this land, well over $1 million worth of land that we received, and then we bought $400,000 more worth of land. They did, the owner, Steve Shaw, did donate $100,000 worth of it. But we have this property to build a outstanding sports complex within the city limits. And so I guess I thought that the city would think, this is great, let's do it. Particularly when you envision that the 90%, I didn't do the research, but I would guess 90%, maybe 95% of our restaurants, hotels, filling stations, whatever, are within the city limits, not outside of the city limits. And so that revenue all comes and people are spending their money inside of the city, not out into the county as nearly as much. And so I think we need to at least be considering if the city, and I'm not trying to disparage the city, they've got to make their decisions of what they're going to spend their money on. I'm not angry with them. I'm just disappointed that I thought this would be made an actual complex with our working together for those reasons and for many other. But they are drawn on other projects. They've got a long list of priorities to address. This is the only priority that we have that really generates more revenue, economic development, puts the heads in beds, brings people in here, and it provides that number two dream that I had of putting our own children into just a top-notch facility to play soccer. If we can't get to that, if the city is, I've been told by one member of the commission, they think they can go to 10 million. The mayor has said perhaps it could get to 15 million, maybe. So I think here's my another concern is I think if we went out to the people who live within McCracken County but outside of the city and said, are you okay with the county using your tax money to build a recreational complex within the city on county property, and you pay 60, 75% of it, in the city pay 25 or 40%. Is that okay with you? And I doubt we'd find too many people who would be okay with that. And I think a lot of them would just give us kind of a blank stare and what are you thinking? So I think we need to look at whether we're going to continue with this project as designed. I think we need to at least discuss if the city does not want to be full partners in the thing, should we back up, take Bluegrass Downs property, build out a magnificent soccer facility. I like the soccer because that's where the numbers are. I think back 2 years ago, I heard 1,200 children locally play soccer. I don't want, we have the reports with all the numbers of how many we think will be travel in, what the money, the revenue would be from doing that and all that. We could, for our 20 million, build, I think, an outstanding soccer facility, rehab that grandstand, have it extremely nice. The one downside to that, of course, is that soccer fields fit best because of the lay of the land and the dimensions of the land at Stuart Nelson. So we would lose that benefit. It could be that later on down the road somewhere, the city would see what we've done and agree to participate and put their money then into Stuart Nelson. In effect, let us, with their help, then build out their property at Stuart Nelson. But it's frustrating, but I think we need at least need to discuss that. There's other things that can be done. There's the possibility that we could cut this project down substantially to where whatever the city would put into the project, we'd put a matching amount, and that be what this project is. We all know if we go too low, if we don't build this thing with enough glitz and glamour and attractions, that what we have is a local park for our kids to play on. We don't have travel ball. We don't have tourists coming in. And we've lost all that we've been working to build. So that's sort of my speech. Anybody have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'll comment on it, Judge. I think you're right in your comments. One thing that always happens, the city's revenue increases as there's retail development because they annex all of the county property into the city. So when restaurants are developed, they're annexed into the city and they get the payroll tax from that and the profits tax from that. So with any kind of retail development, we really don't get much benefit from it. So I think the city really will benefit greatly from what they're doing. I hope we don't get to the point where we have to divide it up and try to do two different projects. I think one project is what we need to do. I think we do need to take a close look at the plan that we have to see if there's reasonable ways that we can cut those expenses without cutting the quality of the facility. If we could get it down to 30 or 35 million, then go back to the city and ask them to pay half, maybe they'd be a little more amenable to adding some more money to that. But I agree that the city should at least be a 50-50 partner, but I would hate to see us have to divide our project up and we do one, they do one. I think the city 2 or 3 years ago did a major, spent over $100,000 for a study on recreational needs, and their project and recommendations were well over what this project would be. So again, I hope we don't have to cut back on it. I think it'd be a mistake if we have to do that. But if we have to do that to get the facilities we need, we'll do what we have to do.
Well, and I'll say too, the reason I wanted to put it on, add it to this agenda is, we've been, the consultants have been hired, we've gotten the information, we know in general what we need. We know a rough estimate of what it would cost to build out the thing as it needs to be. And we know that we can cut back on that. But at some point, we do lose the travel ball, the tourism part of it. And I'm not interested in giving that up. I'd rather us go on our own and put our kids on a quality complex, if that's our only choice. I think that the people who live out in the county, were we to ask them again, would be quite alarmed, frankly, to learn that we may be building a complex using the 40,000 people that are outside of the city and the county to build a really nice sports complex for the city, and then they will benefit in the 90% range and us in the 10% range, even given that the city is, of course, located in the county. And so we want to see the city prosper as well. Jones, got any ideas?
Well, I do, Bill. Were you about to say something, Bill? I interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Well, I do have some comments that I want to say, and it's been exciting to get to this point, but gosh, it's taken longer than I thought it would. It was almost 3 years ago that we met with the parents and the soccer organization, and we started out just trying to figure out how to put bathrooms on the existing soccer field, and that's grown into this, and that's great. I guess what I would want to convey is what it's going to take for this county commissioner to vote to borrow money for a very large project. And that is, I need some cross-examination time with the design and architect guys. I've attended the Sports Tourism Commission meetings, but I didn't ask any questions because I didn't feel like it was my opportunity to do so. I've always felt, well, going back to the Pinnacle study, which we paid $15,000 for, led me to believe that the use of multi-purpose fields is something we should seriously consider. And then when it kind of went to the Sports Tourism Commission route, it took a different path in which we were going to build 7 soccer fields over at Stuart Nelson and then spend quite a bit of money on baseball. And provided the city is interested in being joint partners on that, then that might be something I'm willing to pursue. But if this is a sports tourism commission and county funded only project, I would go back to looking at that Pinnacle report with a lot more detail. Because we've got, when we had the Pinnacle report, we didn't have the Bluegrass Downs property. In fact, at that time, I think I was annoying all of you guys with the Sportsplex conversation every meeting. Well, that's come and gone. But the good news is we have better land, but don't have an 80,000 square foot building. But I still think we've got a potential win and business plan with the multi-purpose fields. I'm interested in some sort of joint city county meeting to see if there are 3 out of 5 city votes that want to pursue this as a joint partnership and how that might look. So I'm hopeful that we can have that conversation soon. I know your office is asking for dates for that possibility. But I guess whether it be a multi-purpose field or be a $40 million project, I don't know how the process will work so that I and I guess the rest of the commission can get our cross-examination time as into the type of fields and how to right size it. But I don't want to defer that responsibility to the Sports Tourism Commission. I feel like that is our responsibility. And I think we've all been waiting because we thought we were going to share that responsibility with the city commission. So it made sense to wait and do that all at one time. But
I agree with you, Commissioner Jones. That's part of the point I was trying to make. I think we need to take a close look at that study and make sure that it's we'll get our bang for our buck and we'll have the quality facility we need. When you have studies like this done, I think they always kind of go to the Mercedes-Benz end of the recommendations, but maybe we can come back with a low price Cadillac, maybe, or a lower price Cadillac. But that's the point I want to make. I think we really need to take a close look at that and not just accept that it's a $40 million project. We need to sharpen our pencils and see if we can cut the cost back. But again, not impede the quality of the facility, which I agree 100%, Judge. It has to be a facility that people say, wow, when they come here, so they can't wait to come back.
Yeah, but I would say, because I guess I'm the one county commissioner who also lives in the city, and I would speak to my city commissioners, well, you've got an opportunity here to get a park built in your city for half the price. And they ought to come be a joint partner. Hope they will.
I think there is the possibility, and what Commissioner Barman is saying is correct, that maybe we can cut it back by a substantial amount. I think, one thing that could be done that I would hope to avoid is we could just rope off that grandstand and say that comes for another day, and we believe that's in the $3.5 million spitball range to renovate that thing to make it dressed out real nice. And so right there, if the park is 40 million, then of course we're at 37, something like that. I hope that the grandstand could sort of be our icon. I haven't heard of any other facility that has anything close to that to provide covered seating for several thousand people, even indoor area downstairs, or put game machines or whatever down there as another attraction. But if we needed to, I guess we could. and cut back on some of the amenities. So that's, and the time is really getting of the essence because we're getting into drier weather now. We could, if we knew what we were going to do, we could start pushing some dirt around very soon. And we don't want to do that until we know who our partner is and at what level. And the money will dictate to us what we can actually do. I'm hoping that perhaps people let us know how they feel. Maybe I misread the county folks. Maybe they're okay with financing this thing largely with county money, and the city can go about doing other things. So I heard somebody say something about they not participating or something like that, but I've not heard from any city leadership that they don't want to be a part of it at all. It's in the 10 million to maybe as high as 15 million with like two maybes at that level. I'm hoping that maybe we can get the thing down to say 35 million. They come in partners, or perhaps the solution is, look, if you city will commit to us to be our partners 50-50 on the build out and the operations of this thing for as long as it's out there, we can jointly work to a number that will accomplish the tourism. It'll have the pizzazz that it has to have for the tourism, bring that revenue in, but also provide outstanding fields for our local kids and our inner city kids, which aspect I didn't cover, but they would provide for that as well. Then we'll get busy. You tell us you're in it with us, we do this jointly, and then let's jointly start whittling and see where we can get and see how much money the county needs to borrow, if I don't know if the city needs to borrow, what they need to do. But I see that they're having pools, requests, dispensing that $20 million pool money. I think maybe they've already spent some of it. But, I don't want anybody to think I'm mad at the city. They believe legitimate reasons, and I don't know what their discussions are to have to spend that money on other things, and that they don't see the ability to join with us 50-50 on this thing. If it's a one-time deal, I guess I know a lady who would say, there's a 50% off sale at Dillard's and it closes in 1 hour. I see it. Get out there in an hour and a half. Can't get that 50% deal. And so we're working, we're under constraint to try to get this done, get the project moving. Obviously,
If I'm hearing you right, Judge, what I think I'm hearing you say is that you believe that we as a county should pursue a project. And if we have a 50-50 partner, then it's a bigger, a more expansive project. If we don't have a 50-50 partner, then it's going to be less of a project. And the city at this point is talking about not being a 50-50 partner, but rather being a very large contributor. And what we need is more than, we want more than what's a large contribution. We want to be, we're looking for a 50-50 partner.
All right. And of course, we would be building out their property, Stuart Nelson Park, with this project. So I just feel like it needs to be 50-50 to do that. I don't think the county folks, again, want us to increase the value of the city park on their dime without the city being 50-50. Frankly, I mean, the other way to look at it is, I thought that the city would say, man, this is like Christmas. Thanks. We'll take a park for 50% off, and it'll include our land, it'll include your land. We go together, put it on the greenway. But again, they have other constraints on their spending. I'm hoping that they'll get there.
I think they're in the middle of their budget workshop or budget talks, so maybe we give them a week or so and have our meeting with them. Maybe we'll get the support we need. And I know that when we built McCracken County High School, the first monies that come in on it, we were looking in the mid to high 70s, and we ended up being in the low 60s after it's all said and done, which the high 70s, mid to high 70s was a Taj Mahal. It had a lot of extras that we done away with, but we still ended up with a really nice quality school and layout. So hopefully we can tweak that, but let's give them a chance to make the right decision, work with us, and let them know, and being 50-50 partners, that we want them to be involved on making every decision and be part of that.
Well, the reason I'm trying to get a joint meeting in the city and county, either Monday or Tuesday, is because I was told just a few hours ago that if we can't get that joint meeting Monday or Tuesday, it'll be about 3 weeks before we can do anything with it. I guess I just don't think you guys know I'm not real patient. I like to get things done and sitting back and thinking and scratching our heads is frustrating, and now I'm done scratching, ready to start digging, I guess.
I think the success of
You wore that out?
this, I think the success of this can be mirrored on the development exposed the volleyball and basketball courts. That's helped the economy of the city greatly. It's kept the hotel full. It's kept workers working on weekends. And again, I don't have any analysis of it, but I think if we go through this project, the city probably, their revenue from their payroll tax and business license tax would probably be enough to pay for any additional amount we need to make it a 50-50 project. Again, they annex everything in the county when there was a development, so we're not going to benefit from it. If somebody sees that this is helping and going to build another new restaurant, I'm sure that the city will take it from us. So again, I agree that the city's got a lot on their plate, but this is an important project. It's something for the community. It's something for all economic classes in the community, whether it's kids on the south side of Paducah or on the west end of Paducah. This will benefit everybody. So I think it's important that we do this, as you mentioned, Judge, a high priority. It's something we probably all talked about when we ran for office, and something I noticed when my grandson played baseball and we had to travel to Mississippi and Kansas City to play baseball. So I hope the city finds a way that they can be a 50-50 participant.
All right, we all through discussing?
Thank you,
I'm gonna try to
Judge.
get that. Yes, sir. I'm going to try to get that meeting set up, so the joint meeting Monday or Tuesday. And just see if we can't walk out of there with 50-50 partners on this thing at whatever level. And hopefully it's in the mid 30 range at least, if not the 40.
Judge, are we going to try to do that face-to-face or virtual, Judge?
Virtual.
Okay.
All right, we're done with that. Okay, item 5 is court orders.
It is ordered that the judge executive is authorized to execute a lease with Mercy Regional Emergency Medical System LLC, DBA Mercy Regional EMS, for the occupancy by Mercy of the property known as the Public Safety Building, having an address of 501 South 6th Street. The consideration from Mercy for said occupancy is the transporting of deceased individuals on behalf of the coroner when requested, rendering services to the sheriff's department after use of a taser, and acceptance of Medicare carrier rates for medical transfers of jail inmates. The term of this lease is for 1 year and will renew on a month-to-month basis thereafter.
So, mate,
Second,
All right, any discussion?
So what was the lease before this was, what was the consideration before this was the consideration?
There was no written agreement. It was a sort of a loose agreement of, I don't know, apparently just they could use our facility and they'd help us out. And I think it had to do with that taser removal, transport of some people to the hospital. I think, was there some inmates, I think that transportation, but nothing at all in writing. That's what got me, and I'm suspecting you, Lawyer Jones, to got a little concerned about that. And we kind of crunched the numbers, looked at how much service they were providing, how many trips they made, what the economic value, how many dollars that was worth, and looked like it was a pretty good deal for us to have them there and in that facility.
And I believe, sir, that Mr. Jeffries is with us if anyone has questions for him.
I saw him a while ago. He's still here. You hear Mr. Jeffries?
I'm still here. Can everybody hear me? I'm sorry you caught me traveling this afternoon.
Yeah, you're coming in.
Jeremy,
good.
has that worked well for Mercy, having the downtown station?
Yes, it only affects the city. It also affects our response to the south side when that Estes Lane station is out. That gives me another ambulance that can ingress into the south side versus coming out of my main station on Coleman Road or the Lone Oak station. So yeah, it benefits us.
I remember when the first agreement was made, one of the benefits was for the Jackson House and Sanders. You still get a lot of calls there, and has it really helped your response time there?
Yeah, well, we still do. But just to answer some other questions about this thing is, it was a gentleman's agreement that I was not a part of. It was prior to my tenure. Myself, Mr. Doolittle, and Judge Clymer all sat down, and we all felt like it's better to get it on paper than a gentleman's agreement, because nobody knew what the gentleman's agreement was. It's just kind of, it was the accepted, and that's what we done. But to get it on paper is just a lot cleaner for me on my side, from my legal perspective with Mr. Hutchins. He felt better about it, and then everyone involved at the hospitals felt better about it. So yeah, it benefits everybody, I feel like.
I think we all agree with that. There's nobody left who made that gentleman's agreement.
No, they're all gone. So, and that's kind of the point. Nobody, and when I started doing my research on it, Mr. Bartleman, nobody could tell me what the original agreement was. So it was very, very difficult to say, well, this is what it is and this is what it isn't.
Yeah.
With it on paper, we all know, and then 20 years from now, everybody will know what it was.
That's right. Yeah, I agree. I think I'm glad you all came to an agreement on it.
We already move in second. We've done that part.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion on it? I think we even, didn't we get at least language drawn up? Did we get that finalized, Steve?
It's in our packet.
Oh, is it? Okay. I didn't get down that far.
Yeah.
Look good to you.
It does. Thanks for your work on this.
All right, so all in favor of that, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no? That carries. B,
It is ordered that $540,300 from the transient room tax escrow fund be transferred to the city of Paducah for bond payment on the Convention Center and Carson Center Series 2020B GOB.
So move.
Second.
any discussion? Nope. All right, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. C,
It is ordered that the judge executive is authorized to execute an examination and lubrication agreement with DC Elevator for the periodic examination of the courthouse elevators at least 12 times per year. This agreement is for a term of 5 years.
So made.
Second.
any discussion?
What,
All in favor, aye. Oh,
Aye.
some discussion? No. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. D,
It is ordered that the judge executive is authorized to enter into a contract with Eric Hinn Murals for the artwork installation, painting of the United We Stand mural on the water tower, subject to the previously executed agreement with Paducah Water. The total amount of this contract is $20,000, $18,500 for the original design painting, plus $1,500 for the additional painting of a website address.
So move.
second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. That carries. E,
It is ordered that the judge executive is authorized to enter into an agreement with United Rentals for rental of a 135-foot boom articulating lift in the amount of $8,637.94.
So made.
second,
any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. All right, resolutions.
It is ordered that resolution number R 2021-9, adopting and approving the execution of a county road aid cooperative program agreement between the McCracken County Fiscal Court and the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet Department for Rural and Municipal Aid for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021 be approved.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered that resolution number R 2021-10 is hereby adopted and enacted, with such resolution being necessary to set forth the written determinations of this court with regard to the disposition of certain surplus county-owned tangible property described as Vehicle 113, a 1990 FLXI VN bus with a VIN of 1GF5AC MKOLD 101636. Vehicle 100, a 1992 Ford F800 truck with a VIN of 1FDXYK84AXNVA36780, and Vehicle 135, a 1997 Ford F250 truck with a VIN of 1FTHF26H3VEB36515. Pursuant to KRS 67.0802 sub 4 sub C, the vehicles will be sold by electronic auction on govdeals.com. These vehicles have for years been used by McCracken County Emergency Services and can no longer remain in service due to age and condition. Said resolution expressly authorizes the judge executive to execute all documents necessary to effectuate transfer of said vehicle.
So made.
second.
All right, any discussion?
What do we use the bus for?
What about it, Rob? What was that for?
Well, it was bought before I was here. I'm not for sure when, but it is a flex bus. It's about 40 feet long. It's big. It's huge. Looking and just analyzing the short time I've been here, we are not going to set up a command center. It's set up as a command center, and we're more than likely our command centers are going to be in rural areas and areas that are difficult to get to. We are not going to be able to take a 40-foot bus into, West McCracken into KOW to the game reserve. And so we're looking at other options that we have, trailers that we're converting and things that we're doing now as we go through an inventory. But this vehicle is older, and it's just not feasible for what our mission is and what we're trying to accomplish.
That bus looks like an RV.
No, it looks like it's a bus that comes out of like I'll tell you what, remember Speed? The movie Speed with, yeah, there it is, except it's probably longer.
Oh,
So that's what it looks like.
and it has brakes.
I've never started it. I'm not, that's beyond my scope. I don't have the CDL. How's that?
Well, the bus and Speed did not have brakes. That was the problem.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. It's been a long time since I've seen that one.
All right.
All right. So we're not going to be buying another bus. Is what you're telling
No.
me. Okay.
No, sir, we're not.
Was that bus purchased probably from the federal government, maybe under their surplus program originally?
No, sir.
Steve?
No.
Bus was bought from a local government in California and driven to Paducah. This was in the early 2000s to be used as a mobile command center. It was a lot of volunteer hours went into it, but it never proved feasible. And even though it was driven here from the West Coast, it proved to have a lot of mechanical issues.
Was that one they were going to use for to hold jail inmates if there was an emergency down there? Is that why they bought that, Steve? Do you remember?
No, it was bought for emergency management to be used as a mobile command center. And as my first boss said, sometimes a good idea doesn't work, and this one just didn't work.
Is it nice?
It's an old urban city bus. I wouldn't say nice. No.
Okay. All right. Well, sounds like we don't want it.
Somebody will think it's nice. I'm sure. What about those other things? Are they in decent shape? I mean, can we put a plug in? We got 6 people watches this show. One of them might need like a Ford F800 truck.
Yeah, because you don't think they're not gonna buy-
I understand the pickup truck reliably will go in reverse. We make no warranty about forward.
If it's warm, it will go forward. It went forward today. It was very warm outside, so we went forward. Now the 800 has a crane on it. To use that and it actually be something that we would use, we would have to have the crane inspected. There's a lot of other work that would go into it. Looking at, spending the money on that versus all of our county fire departments, Paducah Fire Department, they have the same type of vehicle that will already be on the scene before we could even get that one mobilized there. So it's, again, like Mr. Doolittle said, it was a great idea at the time. It's outlived its purpose. When we first got it, it was a great thing with the crane. Now it's just not feasible to keep up.
I'm seeing mobile deer stand. Would it not make a mobile deer stand, Rob?
Well, with your deer, you do need a crane to pick them up because they are rather large deer. That's what I've heard. You've told me that before.
All right, I'm getting the throat clearing.
I heard that.
We're in trouble. I'll mute.
All right, I forgot where we are. I guess we're ready to vote on that.
We're down to the
Yes,
last
sir.
thing.
Okay, all in favor of the resolution, aye.
Uh,
Opposed, no. That carries. We have any executive session action? I don't know of anything. No. All right, the motion to adjourn.
So made.
All
Second.
right, motion
Second.
second.
First, second,
All
whatever.
in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Thank you, gentlemen, ladies. Thank you, Rob.